Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Doing great. I do want to just
Excellent.
preface this a little bit. I did
Sure.
art primarily for the game. I do know how the programming decisions were made and the level design decisions were made, but that was where my realm of the game was.
No, that's totally fine. I'm always happy to orient the questions more towards an art side of things. So let's get this going. And can you talk a little bit about your background and your role on this project?
Sure. Yeah, so like I said, I was primarily responsible for the art. I did a little bit of basic stuff, so I like made the scene transitioning stuff work as well. Um Generally speaking, we all this broke this up into one person was doing the music and sound, one person was primarily responsible for the level design, and then one person was responsible for the programming, and I was responsible for the art. A little bit of overlap where it needed to be. I think some people got some sound effects or whatnot, but
Mhm.
that was kind of the general flow of who did what.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know it's kind of like all hands on deck for, especially in the last couple minutes of the game jam.
Yeah,
Ooh.
definitely.
Uh, I hang on a second. I thought it was space to switch between guys.
Yeah, so one of the things is, you know, honestly, I don't like narrating too much while people play it the first time, so I'm gonna let you try to figure it
Yeah, I
out.
just. Oh wait, wait. Was it right click? Is that I just had that wrong?
Um, okay, so how it was, it's both, and the way that you do it is you hover over the character.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha, gotcha. All right, and then these green things I'm touching, I assume those are checkpoints. Maybe, maybe
Yeah,
not.
I mean, they're not checkpoints, they're just health.
Okay, okay, cool. No, I always appreciate when I know as a developer, you don't want to tell someone how to play your game because it's a question of can they figure it out themselves.
Right, but
Um,
there was a sign like that said that, but I don't think it came
yeah,
across well. I know a few people have mentioned not immediately catching that, but usually they'll figure it out while playing the game. So
yeah.
I was just giving you a little bit more streamlined
No,
one.
I do appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mouse over hologram and then right click. Yes, that was it. Press space to switch. Yeah. That's okay. So yes, you made me read it. Yes, I did it. So why didn't I remember it? I did
Because it
it.
didn't get reiterated.
Yes, I did it once, and then I didn't have to do it again until I encountered those enemies.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No,
if
I
it's the
definitely agree with you on that one.
well, no worries. I mean, tutorialization is so difficult to do right. It's it's something that you practically build the entire rest of the game first, and then you get the tutorial right at the end. Or in the context of a game jam, sometimes you're just building something, and that's all you have time for. So
Yeah, no, this game definitely was to the extent of it. Got a week to do it, and we got it done in a week. And there's definitely cuts and decisions that had to be made.
ooh, I got hit that time. Okay, cool. So what was your process like for creating the art for the game?
Okay, sure. So I had to prioritize the things that needed to get done first. That was what I talked about. So I kind of was talking with the programmers. I was like, okay, which art do we think is going to be essential to get our minimum viable product, our core experience? So first thing we talked about wanting was basically it was the player and it was the kind of just the general. I guess I feel like this probably wasn't as necessary. It was just one of the things that I was trying to figure out how to do.
Mm-hmm.
We were trying to use auto tiling, and I've never done that in Unity before.
Uh-huh.
Um, so all the tiles kind of automatically will generate in the way that they're supposed to based off the shape. So
Mm-hmm.
that was actually one of the first art assets I also made for that reason. That was one of the things I was experimenting with this jam. And so with that, those were the two things: the player, all of them, and then the the general art, like for the walls and stuff like that, to auto tile.
Hmm.
And then after that, we went with like the enemies. We went with like traps, like you're kind of seeing right now. Or at least you were seeing. I might be a few seconds behind on your stream.
Yeah, it is fine.
So yeah, no. So I went through and we made some of those, and then just tried to get done what I could get done. I try to when I make art, I actually try to look for other inspiration first. So I don't really have a specific game that I use as an inspiration, but I kind of just generally looked up top-down pixel art for shooters, like top-down shooter pixel art, and I try to
Hmm.
find like kind of like how they look and their general aesthetic, and I tried to mirror that kind of idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. Like you've got the sort of like top-down guy. Like there's a when something is purely top-down like this, there's not always a lot of room for artistic expression of what the character can be because it's just kind of like arms and a gun.
Right, and that's actually why one of the things that we did is you could kind of see that some of the weapons look different. They're a
Hmm.
little bit different, but also the main thing that we did that was different was the color, in which you can obviously see how that plays with the gameplay as well. That was just a way to be kind of like make them stand out between each other. Like we wanted to have this kind of idea when we were originally pitching the game. We were like, okay, it's not real. We were unsure how we wanted to tackle that for this game jam, but like,
Hmm.
okay, well, the original first idea is like, what if the enemies aren't real? And that kind of led into this design idea of like, okay, well, what if you could hit the enemies, but they're only real for like the player when they're a certain way?
Hmm.
And so then that kind of went into like how would we be able to know, and then we chose the colors uh idea as a kind of way to like play around that idea.
Yeah, it gives it an almost like Ikaruga sort of feel where you've got the ability to oh yeah, like having to swap back and forth between different characters to like be able to kill enemies of a certain color, and then I guess what Ikaruga does is that they make you immune to the opposite color, which you also have that kind of like immunity here. Like, I guess I have to ask, did Ikaruga come up at all?
I don't even know what that game is, to be honest with you.
Okay, okay.
What is
It
that?
is. It's a bullet hell game where you have a little spaceship where you can swap back and forth between like black and white, and when you're in black mode, you shoot black projectiles and you are immune, or rather your special shot charges from absorbing black bullets.
I see.
So they did some cool stuff with the abilities in that game, and oh my gosh, these guys,
Yeah,
they've
these
got a
guys got
lot of
different
layers,
attacks.
and they've got a
Yeah.
lot of layers of shields.
Yeah, there is one design decision that I was unfortunately I wasn't here at the very end of the jam, so I didn't get a lot of input in terms of some of the design decisions here. One of the things I kind of wish would have happened was I know when you hit them they'll always switch colors right now with these
Right.
guys, and I kind of wish that once or twice they would stay the same color, so you'd have to hit them twice with the same guy. That was one of my things that I kind of in retrospect wish this was done, but it's not a huge deal.
I think, oh man, you know what? I just came up with the idea that, oh wow, and now we're on to, I guess, level two with a full four guys.
Yep.
Uh, the moment that you said you have to mouse over a character to become them, I figured, okay, so we're not just doing two guys, because otherwise you would have just made it a single key.
Right.
So that's really cool. I think it would be really neat is in that first level before you're even introduced to a new enemy. Like you've got the disc launching guy that kind of like fires out and comes back.
Yeah.
It would be really neat if that was like an orange color or something that you didn't have that color, but you needed to like get that guy to bounce his own projectile off a wall to hit himself.
I'm sorry, I don't fully understand what you're saying.
Okay, so you have the ability to shoot blue and shoot pink, but
Right.
let's say that that guy shows up as orange
Oh,
and
he has the
you
orange
can't
shield.
damage him exactly. Yes, yes, yes. You can't damage him at all, but you have to like make him bounce his own shots against himself to clear off his own shield before you can kill him.
I'm not sure. how that would work because the orange guy's projectile just comes to him by default automatically. It's kind of like a boomerang effect.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, then maybe the orange guy is kind of a bad example of that. It could even be done with the missile launcher guy because he's got splash damage with his explosions. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, that makes.
either that or I guess the
It
the
would
the
work best with
one
the orange and green, or not orange. Sorry, I
something.
mean a pink and green. I mean,
Yeah,
because green could run into his own attack in theory.
yeah, or even just like another damage type that we're not seeing here at all, which like bounces off of a wall once, like a grenade launcher, something that bounces off of a wall and then explodes.
Okay, I gotcha.
All right, so let's switch to this guy. It definitely becomes more difficult to. Oh, there's so many layers of shields to remove. Uh, it looks like the things that the like boomerang guy fires out are the same color for both you and the
Yeah,
enemy.
I am aware there was a little bit of miscommunication over exactly something. So I wasn't this was basically what happened. So I wasn't available for like the last 2 days of the jam, and I wasn't exactly sure how they were gonna be doing that. I didn't realize that they were gonna be having the enemy like that,
Mm-hmm.
like a separate thing as well. I thought it was just gonna be kind of like two types of enemies. Um, so I only made the one anticipating it only needed to be for orange.
Right.
So that's just the unfortunate thing about a game jam. If there's more time, obviously, I would have picked a more neutral color or like a red or something that would have stood out a little bit better. Maybe not
Mm-hmm.
red. Red blends with the orange. I would have just picked a different color.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's like not really an issue overall. I'm just sort of defaulting to avoiding everything. Oh, I had an opportunity to shoot that guy before he even saw me, which is always feels fun. So I'm guessing these floor hazards hurt me if I stand on them.
When they're like going,
Yes, when
yeah.
they're active, but the enemies do not get hurt by those.
I don't think they do.
Doesn't look
Do you
like
think
it.
they should?
I think that kind of consistency is generally appreciated because then um, you can kind of feel clever as the player for like tricking an enemy AI to like stand on something.
I gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I I think we were just trying to make it so that. Okay, no, I see where you're coming from. That does make sense.
I don't know why I felt like I needed to switch back to another color just to finish that guy off, but
Just whichever attack feels more comfortable, I guess.
come on, get him on the backswing. Yeah. Oh man. Okay, so now I really want to see a kind of enemy where you have to shoot them and then like hit them in the back with the projectile. Otherwise, they have shields in the front.
Yeah, we talked about having like shields or something in this game. Like, I mean, the bubbles kind of came up and turned into what shields were, but like we talked about having shields that would be like one direction at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't get around to that idea.
Yeah, so you could kind of like have to get in behind an enemy and then, or like use the fact that you can swap between your holograms to uh, like get behind an enemy. Like they're targeting one, and then you sort of like effectively teleport behind them.
Yeah, the closest thing I think we came to that was like teleporting over walls into rooms that had enemies in them of
Yeah,
like a color, and then jumping out and then jumping back in from the first
right.
level. We kind of tried that idea a little bit, but definitely have room to be fleshed out.
Yeah, so I guess let's talk a bit about that. Do you have plans to continue development on the game?
Probably not. This is definitely a game jam game.
Sure.
We so a lot of the people I made it with, I'm no longer in college, but I used to be in college in a game development club, and so a bunch of the people who I was friends with from there, we would make games that would go over the length of like 2 months. So those were
Mhm.
like the long games that we'd plan out. But then we sometimes like participate in random jams, some of the people who want to.
Nice.
And so this is one of the examples of a jam that people were interested in participating. They asked if I wanted to join them, so I joined.
So, do you have some other project that you're looking to get back to?
Um, I'm honestly probably gonna try to start a new project because I mean I've finished the ones that I've done over the semesters,
Mhm.
while I was there, but I'm probably gonna do my own the solo dev thing, you know?
Of
Uh,
course.
Obviously I'm not expecting too much out of it, just like a fun game I want to make for myself. I've considered trying to look into like a multiplayer game that has its own range of issues. I actually got it to work with the Steam lobby system, setting up the lobby and getting all that working. But the going from there, the tricky part is like there's so much like synchronizing issues that happen when you like try to set up multiplayer. And
Yeah.
so I want to come around to that idea. I've done a little bit of work with that one. But I wanted to kind of try to make like I don't know how to best say it. Almost like a party game, like what's the word that they use? Where you try to like figure out. The closest game I can think of that's gonna be like obvious is like Among Us, but it's also like the werewolf, the mafia kind of games
Yeah.
where you're trying to like suss out somebody who's like like a hidden role. That's what they're called, hidden role games.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
So I've done a little bit of work on trying to figure that out, and I want to kind of work a little bit more on that. But yeah,
Oh
no,
boy.
this project was definitely one of the for me and being the artist, it's like I am an artist out of necessity.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it looks great for programmer art.
Thanks. Yeah, I had a little bit of practice, but I know what you mean when you say programmer art. You can definitely see some games. I've played a few games this jam that are like, okay, this game was made by an artist
Hmm.
who learned how to use Unity, and then there's games that were made by programmers who are just trying to make quick art.
For sure. Happens to everyone. Like you work with what you have. What's the expression? I think a general goes to war with the army they've got. Something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Never heard that expression before.
I think it's usually used in a kind of damning context of like, well, it's the
You got what you got.
yeah, exactly. Oh. So I guess this is the final boss of the game.
Yeah.
All right. Um, so what did you actually make the art with?
Ace Sprite.
Okay, I figured that's kind of the sort of standard answer. It seems like most people use a sprite these days
Yeah, I
for pixel
mean,
art, at least.
it's pretty convenient when you're making pixel art, especially. A lot of tools that you can use that'll make things simpler.
Hmm.
What do you, did you make a game for this jam? I'd be willing to
I
check it
didn't get
out
a
after I'm done
chance.
with this.
No, I
Oh,
appreciate that, but I didn't have the opportunity to participate in this jam. I was away this past week, and then yay, managed to get
I
through.
gotcha.
But yeah, so I haven't got a game from this particular jam, so I don't even have the ability to rate these, unfortunately. But I just wanted to take the opportunity to like have these conversations, give some feedback, talk with some of the developers behind these projects, and yeah, just give stuff a try in general. So,
Awesome. Being as critical as you'd want to, it's okay if you want to give it ones and everything. If for the categories, what would you roughly give each one, just off the top of your head?
oh, okay, sure. What categories are there actually? I don't even get to see those.
Yeah, sure. Let me look at a different game so I can actually look at. Okay, so we got game design as the
Hmm.
first one. So each one's out of 5 stars. So it'd be like one,
Hmm.
two, three, 4, or 5 stars.
Sure.
So we could go off that one first.
Okay, design. Um, okay. Uh, you're kind of putting me in the spot. I don't usually rate things publicly. I will leave a comment and I will leave feedback, but I don't think the star rating is always helpful to people. I would rather just give an explanation uh, for each of these categories of like what do I think, and maybe you can infer the star rating from what I have to say about it.
Okay, fair enough. You could just do it like that then if you want to.
Sure. So I think that design wise, I would have loved to see more that took advantage of the positional swapping of the characters. I think there are a couple times that you have to swap characters to get around a wall, and then not much aside from that. I think you could have some like enemy attacks that fire at you, and then you have to like quickly swap away to another character to avoid getting hit. You can kind of do that with the missiles, and some of the weapons kind of encourage that. But I think it would be neat to have more emphasis on the positional swapping of things. Um, I do think that the behavior of the different weapons is really nice and distinct. I think the game would have been pretty boring if they were all just like four different colored pellet guns. Um, that wouldn't have felt as engaging, but because each weapon felt like it had its own behavior, it felt fun to control. So that was cool. Um, I think it would be a nice bonus to have some indication of how many layers there are to the center of each Tootsie Roll. Um, I don't know if that expression makes any sense, but I just
No,
want to know how
I know
many.
what you're trying to say. Like how many times you have to hit the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, like if there was some indication of like how many layers of shield they had, um, just so you could better visually juggle when there's like multiple enemies at a time that you're fighting. You can sort of prioritize like, oh, okay, that guy's nearly dead. I'm going to focus in on him. Um, so again, not exactly sure how you would do that, other than having some kind of like mini indicator on them that shows like how many layers there are to their shields or something like that, or like some sort of segmented health bar beneath each enemy. Um, Other than that, I think I already mentioned a couple things about throughout while I was playing the game that would be like neat to have. Other suggestions like directional shields, stuff that, um, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go all in on saying, see what you can do to avoid color coding altogether, and just have enemies that are weak to certain types of, like, if the the disc launcher guy is really great because he can hit something that's behind an enemy because like his shots fire out and come back. Maybe the missile launcher enemy is good for dealing with like swarms of small enemies, um, or otherwise hitting things like on the far side of a gap in the ground that you can't walk over or something like that. I don't know why. Like any gun would work like that. That's a bad example. Um, Maybe the laser guy's shots bounce off of walls. Maybe that's an example of how you could have an enemy like conceivably hit themselves with something. Is that the laser like bounces off of something? Um, Again, I know that makes. I know you're not planning on continuing development of the game, but I can't help but these things come to my mind.
Like expand upon the concept. No, that's no
Yeah.
problem. I mean, one of the things I like about game jams is it kind of like lets you sit like how you like an idea, and if you wanted to continue going in that direction, or even like taking a project, steal some of the mechanics, art, whatever, and then kind of fleshing a different idea out with it.
Hmm.
And I've definitely thought about. I've used game jams that I've made as like inspirations to other clever things in different games.
Hmm. Yeah. Excellent. Um, all right. I think that's about everything I have to say on design right now. So what's the next category?
Fun. On a scale of 1 to
It
5,
was
how much fun
fun.
did you have? Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun. I think that let's see. What like fun is really like tied in closely with design. Like fun, I guess
Yeah.
fun
I
isn't
think
always a good category because some games aren't about fun.
no,
Uh
I know what you're saying. Like some games like they're not necessarily designed to be fun. They're
mhm.
designed to invoke a certain way. I mean, like for example, like some games might be more depressing or whatever, but they're still good designed.
That was absolutely a problem I had when I made this game here, which was called Stroke for an old Game Maker's Toolkit jam, where people were like, "This wasn't fun. This was an exploration of like someone being in a hospital and not knowing what to do." It's just, but yeah. So some people were just like, "I guess I'll give it 3 stars." Some people were like, it wasn't fun at all. I gave it 1 star. And then other people were like, this was an incredible experience. And even if it wasn't quote unquote fun, I'm still giving you 5 out of 5 stars in that category. So like it's it's not always helpful. I think games convey an experience, and a lot of the time that experience is meant to be joy, and therefore we rate games on a category on a scale of fun. But by and large, I don't think that for game jams, fun should be one of the explicit categories. So, in terms of the successfulness of the experience for this game,
Yeah,
um,
well, we could say it like that instead of fun.
yeah, yeah, and I think this is a game where you were going for fun as your like intent experience, right?
I'd agree. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think fun fits your game better than it might others necessarily. And yeah, it was fun. It was decently challenging. I appreciate the health pickups. I didn't die, which is great. Like um
Yeah, one of the things that we kind of talked about a little bit, and this is especially a thing with game jams, people if they have struggled too much, if they die more than a few times, sometimes people just quit.
yeah, yeah. I think
They'll
it
just get
was
tired of the game. You want to make the game enjoyable enough and like to kind of like present itself as like a little bit challenging, but you want to be kind of easy.
you got it. You absolutely got it. I will have more fun with a game that I actually finish than one that I rage quit because it was too hard.
Yeah.
So
I'm not trying to make a Kaizo Mario level here.
no, very true. So yeah, it was fun. It was a good. I enjoyed the time I had with it. I think it was about a good length for a game jam project as well. I appreciate that you got a good opportunity to explore some different mechanics, had a good number of levels, and it didn't overstay its welcome for how the breadth of the mechanics as you were able to explore them. So good on that category.
Awesome. And then I think we can move on to our next category, which is innovation.
Innovation, I guess. So it's funny that I mentioned Ikaruga and you said you hadn't even heard of it before, but in terms of like swapping between different characters, I'm not gonna say I've ever seen this exact configuration of it done. Um, I think you have more room here with the concept that you have set up than you were necessarily able to explore in the time that you had. So I think the concept was very innovative. I think you just needed more time if you were going to more fully explore all the possibilities that necessarily opened itself up to, like some of the other suggestions that I made in the design section. So yeah, I'd say this was decently innovative. Like, is it unlike anything I ever played before? No, I can sort of see like little
You
bits
can
of
see the
inspiration being
resemblance of
drawn.
other games. Yeah,
Yeah,
there are other
but that doesn't.
games.
But it was well put together, and it wasn't just a platformer or something.
Right. Yeah. No, there's a lot of people like we there was a few things that we were trying to avoid, and that's going to go into this next one as well. Like
Hmm.
the theme for this jam definitely encourages a lot of the same types of games.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
we we weren't the biggest fan of that for the theme for this reason, and that's actually the next category, theme.
Hmm.
Which I mean I can tell you what I personally think. I don't think we did a great job at following the theme. I think it was really hard to follow the theme to a T.
Yeah.
If you did it and you took it too literally or you took it too on the nose, then you're gonna end up with a game that's very much like every other game in this jam.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to see how people can stretch the theme and make something like some of the most interesting games you get out of any given jam, like especially the big ones, are the ones that manage to really execute on the theme in some remarkably clever way. I don't think every single game made, like the what 800, how many games are made for this submitted for this jam?
There was a
Uh
lot.
wow, yeah, 1600 entries. Yeah. I don't think all 1600 of those games could possibly be completely distinct from each other, nor do I think they need to be. Um, I've always said that a theme should be more of a suggestion to sort of like get you thinking along some lines than it should be about um, like I never want to rate a game down for how it does or doesn't adhere to a theme because people get so pedantic about whether or not it does. And like, yeah, so does this game match the theme? No, kind of. I can see how it was inspired by the theme. Um, you wouldn't be getting 5 stars in this category, but
Oh,
nor
absolutely
would I
not. I
be.
don't expect to. I expect
Yeah,
to get at best 3 or yeah, about 3. That's kind of what I'm expecting. Maybe a little lower if we don't do
yeah,
particularly hot with the people who rate it.
yeah. I think that's fine as long as you're. Uh, I think as long as you can sort of see some element of how this should almost be like a binary thing. Like, can you see how this game was inspired by the theme? Yes, no.
Yeah,
Not a
like is the
5 star
game
rating
using the
scale.
theme in some way?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's how it should be because like I actually so I did a game jam with some of the people who were in this
Hmm.
who worked with me on this one, and so it was like just for like us and like the people of our school. So I think we had about like 9 games, and I ended up winning, but I ended up winning only due to theme. Like the difference between me and second place was the difference of theme, and it was like it did not feel strong enough to like
Mm,
I was like, "Ugh, that's tough."
yeah, gotcha. Okay. Was there any other categories?
Yeah, I think the other two, we've talked about graphics a bit, so I don't feel like we really need to talk too much more about that unless you have something specific you want to get feedback for.
No, I think I've sort of mentioned it as I go. One thing that would
Alrighty.
be
Oh,
helpful. Have you heard of the tool Color Oracle?
I have not. What is Color Oracle?
I'm trying to open it up here. I'm just trying to remember. Oh, yeah, games, how to and tools, Color Oracle. Here we go. So, Color Oracle is a really great way where I can look at the game, look at a screenshot of the game, and see how does it look like to somebody who has a certain form of color
Oh,
blindness.
actually, so we had a little bit of a help there. We actually have
Yeah,
somebody who is colorblind that was a friend of ours, and we asked him, "Does everything here look visually okay?"
yeah. So I think the idea of using like um, pink and blue always stand out. Green and orange are a little close. Like it's good that you didn't go with green and red because those are too visually close. But just keep in mind there are 3 different kinds of color blindness,
That's true.
and yeah, it's like as I'm running these filters, um, like on this
Okay,
one,
that one, it doesn't look as
yeah, the
clear
second one I
cut.
did, yeah,
Yeah.
but Tritanopia seems to be yeah, just a little bit harder to tell apart. But this is also the most rare condition. So Color Oracle, it's a free program. It doesn't work on like a video. As you can see, it's basically just posting a static image over top of my screen here. Um, but yeah, it's a really helpful for just quickly evaluating that sort of thing.
Okay.
So the classic thing there is always to use some kind of symbol in concert with the colors. Um, so you could have, instead of these little bubble shields, just like some sort of shape to them, like literally triangle, circle, square, and then
Like something
pentagon or
like even if I
star.
do have the bubble circle, like we just
Hmm.
have it like darker outline on top of it with a specific shape, so
Yeah,
that
you
they
could
can
you could
figure it
modify
out.
the line weight of the outline on the bubble. You could modify the style, like it could be a dashed line instead, just something to visually distinguish the different types of bubbles from each other.
Okay,
So
yeah,
I
I
think
guess
that's
that
all I
makes
have to
sense.
say on that category. It's
And
just
the
it's
final
yeah.
one would be audio. Oh,
Audio, yeah, the audio worked out great. It totally felt like it fit with the game. I'm gonna actually reopen the game to remind myself.
yeah, we actually it went through a few iterations. I think there was about like 6 iterations for the main theme when you're playing throughout the levels. Uh, just because there was a few times where I don't think he was getting the idea of like what the game was at first, the person
Hmm.
who's making the audio. But I think he started like we kind of explained like this is a fast-paced game. It's got to like have some energy to it,
Yeah,
and I think he started to figure it out.
I think some things like the regular sound effect for the bullet are maybe a little weaker. Like this doesn't really sound like a bullet being fired. It sounds like someone knocking on wood. The music's
Oh,
great.
the blue one, yeah.
Yeah, and even like the sound effects for the rocket are nice and crunchy. Like that sounds great. I don't remember how the other weapons sound. Like the laser, I remember sounding great. Very
The
much needs
boomerang
a
one
spacer.
has a little bit of a weirder sound.
Mhm.
I think we called it a chakram officially in the game files. Uh,
Okay.
so the chakram one it had like a little bit of a weirder sound to it, but it's also a little bit of a weirder weapon type, so that's kind of why it
Mhm.
was chosen.
Oh, okay. There is one other thing that I'm remembering that I would love to see explored, and that's the ability to rotate which position these guys are in when they're in the hologram form.
Yeah, I've noticed that a little bit while even while playtesting it a little bit like afterwards, I was like, yeah, I wish you could like change the orientation or just like if you like just like maybe if you like scrolled, it would just like make them rotate between back and forth or like it would circle them around the square for the four of
Yeah,
them.
exactly, exactly something like that, so that it would be. Um,
You can position yourself in a better way quicker.
yeah, like if I'm controlling just this one guy by himself, and then this scrolling puts this guy to the other side of me, and then like back and forth. Um, I think you could use that to again like as more of like a puzzle solvey kind of element to the game, but
Yeah, I definitely see that.
it'd be neat.
And also it would let us be able to do stuff where like you jump in the room and you don't have to just jump in with the one specifically that's like pink on the right side or whatever.
Yeah.
You could also put the blue ones on the right side or just it makes it better to do different kinds of puzzle mechanics. I could see that.
All right. Well, if that's the last category, then unless anyone in chat has any questions, just say where can people find you? And are there any? I know you said you're like probably about to start work on a new project, but
Yeah, I
is there
mean,
anything
if
else you want to
people
mention?
Yeah, sure. So as always, I'm going to advertise this game. We still only, as of the current moment, okay, we got another one. So we have 14 people who've rated it. So I'd encourage anybody, if you've watched this, even if you haven't played it, that would be helpful to get us to the 20. Really would appreciate getting 20, so that I think that's like the minimum
Mhm.
before they start taking off points for your games. Uh, so yeah, that's basically all I'd really ask for with this one.
Cool. Sounds good. And yeah, if you have any other projects that you'd like to send my way, every Monday I do these feedback streams where it doesn't have to be a prototype. It can literally just be an idea. And I've just had developers on and we've just talked like a game soundboard kind of thing. Just like, let's talk through a game design idea and see what direction you're going to take this. So,
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go over one of the last games we made, I mean, it's a little bit of a longer game, but it's we made an RPG fighting game last semester, and I think that's kind of one of the coolest games I've made. So I'd be willing to show you that. It's called Rusted Vengeance. It's the third one if you want to like glance at it real quick.
for sure, yeah. I'd be more than happy to give this a try at some point. I'm going to keep going with the other Brackies games for today's stream, but perhaps at a future point I can give this a try if you were looking for more feedback on it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, just keep an ear out for a ping on the Discord when the feedback streams go live.
Okay, is there a Discord server you wanted me to join for that one?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, I'll post this here in the chat, so anyone is welcome to join up on the Discord there. That's most of the time. That's where I take submissions for game jams. Just this one in particular, I was really soliciting Bracky's Jam developers because it's like, hey, I'm live now, and I can see people are actively trying to get their game out there and get noticed. So, um,
Yeah,
oh, and
again, I
then
do appreciate it. What's
yeah,
up?
Asphyxia, I have your game already because I reached out to you. So, but yeah,
Yep.
uh, I guess Joey, thank you so much for joining on and talking through the game, and looking forward to seeing what you have next.
All right, appreciate it. Take it easy, man.
Yeah, you too. Bye bye.
Bye.